For anyone thinking that Donald Trump is not hell-bent on entire world domination, you may have missed what he did on Wednesday. Obviously, the news on Wednesday was a little overwhelmed with a different story, rightfully so. And Donald Trump used that as cover to sign an executive order pulling the United States out of 66 different United Nations commissions, organizations, and treaties, along with, of course, about a dozen or so other international non-UN organizations and agreements. The President of the United States signed an executive order pulling us out of the groups that could effectively keep us in check as Donald Trump tries to take over country after country after country, or at least openly fantasizes about doing that. Let me read you. Many of the targets are UN-related agencies, commissions, and advisory panels that focus on climate, labor, migration, and other issues the Trump administration has categorized as catering to diversity and woke initiatives. Marco Rubio said this: "The Trump administration has found these institutions to be redundant in their scope, mismanaged, unnecessary, wasteful, poorly run, captured by the interest of actors advancing their own agendas contrary to our own, or a threat to our nation's sovereignty, freedoms, and general prosperity." So let me read you this very long list of UN organizations, commissions, and treaties that the United States pulled out of because, as Rubio says, they're contrary to our own sovereignty and freedoms. Here is the list. Bear with me on this because it's long, but everybody needs to know it. The Department of Economic and Social Affairs. The Economic Commission for Africa. Kind of convenient pulling out of that as you just bombed Nigeria, right? The Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean. Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia. The International Law Commission. Gee, why would the United States not want to be a part of the International Law Commission? Could it be because Pete Hegseth continues to break international laws? International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals. International Trade Center, Office of the Special Advisor on Africa, Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Children in Armed Conflict. Yeah, because who cares about kids, right? Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General on Sexual Violence. Office of the Special Representative of the Secretary General on Violence Against Children. I would love for Marco Rubio to explain how being part of the Commission for Violence Against Children is against the United States interests. The Peacebuilding Commission. The Peacebuilding Fund. Permanent Forum on People of African Descent. UN Alliance of Civilizations. UN Collaborative Program on Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation in Developing Countries. The UN Conference on Trade and Development. UN Democracy Fund. The UN Energy. UN Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, UN Human Settlements Program, UN Institute for Training and Research, UN Oceans, UN Population Fund, the UN Register of Conventional Arms, the UN System Chief Executives Board for Coordination, UN System Staff College, UN Water, and UN University. Now, the rest of these are non-UN organizations that we have pulled out of. I am not going to sit here and read you the entire list, but again, the general thinking from the experts right now is obviously Donald Trump does not want people looking over his shoulder. Obviously, Donald Trump does not want to be confronted about the decisions that he is making, the countries that he is bombing. So we're withdrawing. We're coming out of these organizations. We're setting the United States and potentially most of the rest of the world back decades by no longer funding or cooperating with these agreements and commissions. And, as you heard from that list, we're putting a lot of children in harm's way. Okay, Remember just a couple of years ago, Republicans were all about, we got to protect the kids. We got to protect kids from CRT. We got to protect them from drag queens. And all the Democrats are preying on children. Remember? But when it comes to actually doing something about children who are actually being sexually abused or children who are in armed conflict, no, those kids can just go to hell. Because Republicans have never, will never care about children. They just use them as political props. The damage that Trump is causing will take generations to fix. He has set us back a generation at least, and it'll take several more generations before we can get back to where we even were before he did this. Thanks for watching, and if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please do so, and do not forget to like and comment and share widely among your friends.